Hello, this is Neena Perez at Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. Thank you so much for watching. Every week I try to come on here to give you resources, tools, and tips, and to discuss life topics to hopefully challenge and transform your thinking. So today I have an amazing organization here called Hopeline. They are located in Stamford, Bridgeport, and in Danbury. And Hopeline's mission statement is that they exist to promote life by providing Christ-centered services related to pregnancy, offering hope one life at a time. So I wanted to introduce you to these amazing women that I have here with me. And this is Adrienne Gretto, and she's the executive director of Hopeline, and Jessica Costa. She is a board member for Hopeline, also previously a client, a volunteer, and an employee. And I want to welcome you guys for being here today. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Yeah, so the first thing I always do with everyone who comes on my show is to have them just say a little bit about themselves. All right. That's never easy, and I love putting people in the hot seat. So Adrienne, you first.
Yeah, so I'm Adrienne, and I never thought I would end up at a pregnancy center. My background is education. I have my master's in education. I love kids, but the Lord led me to Hopeline, and I know my calling is children, and so the Lord just showed me that it starts with the beginning of their life.
Right.
And so I'm just really passionate about serving women and children that way.
So you feel like you're in the right place.
I do feel like I'm in the right place.
How long have you been with Hopeline?
November 1st will be my 3rd anniversary with Hopeline.
Oh, wow, that's great. That's great. Well, it's education, but at a different level, right?
Yes, it is. Very true.
Yeah, that's great. And Jessica, how about you?
Well, I'm a mom of 3 boys and 1 more on the way.
Wow, so not busy.
Not busy at all, no. And I'm married to a wonderful man, Cristiano. And I started with Hopeline. Well, I was introduced to Hopeline 7 years ago.
Okay.
And the Lord has just called me to follow his lead with that organization, and I've been involved with it now for almost 8 years now, actually.
Oh, wow.
And serving different roles and just trying to fulfill what God has called me to do.
Because now you're on the board, right?
That's correct.
And is the board covering all 3 areas?
That's correct.
Okay.
So we before I was involved mostly with the Danbury location, but now as a board member, we oversee all 3 locations.
Oh, okay.
So it's good. I get to know all the locations.
That's wonderful. So thank you guys for coming today. This is an organization that I found very interesting. I heard you speak at one of the services at my church.
Yes.
And I just wow, why didn't I know about this? And how long have they been here? And why don't I know more, right? So I hunted you down. I kept emailing you and texting you. I felt so bad. I'm like, I'm going to keep bothering her until she says yes.
I always wanted to say yes. Don't worry. There was not too much convincing.
I'm glad we could do this, and I'm glad that you're here with the 4th Bambino coming on the way, right? This is awesome. I mean, what better way, right? What better way? So I wanted to know about Hopeline. I want to know more about it. And I want our viewers to know more about it. So I want to really know how it all started. Why even start Hopeline?
Yeah, so I believe Hopeline started in 1986, so we're about 33 years old.
Wow.
And Eli Whitney is a retired pilot, and he was asking the Lord, God, what do you want me to do in my retirement? I need to do something. And so the Lord told him, I want you to get involved with women in crisis pregnancies. And he was like, what?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, he's like, what are you asking me to do? And so he prayed and just felt like, yep, that's what he had to do. So one morning at a church in Trumbull, they were having a men's breakfast, and they raised $10,000 to start Hopeline in the 80s. And it's called Hopeline because it started as a crisis phone line. And it started, and they had volunteers that would circulate to answer the phones 24/7. And eventually we grew into actual facilities, and then in 2007 we went medical.
Wow, that's a cool story.
It is a really cool story.
That's a cool story.
It's a very cool story.
And it's a story that you don't usually hear because a lot of stories start with a crisis for that person.
Yeah.
Right? So for that to be something that was given to him through prayer or whatever is completely different, right?
Yeah.
You would think it was like, a woman who was in crisis and she started her own organization, which is fine as well, which is a reason why we go through all the things we go through, right?
Absolutely.
But to think that it was just not even a female, but a man.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, life is a human issue. It's not just a woman's issue.
That is so neat. I love that. And so in 2007, you became, I guess, more personal or physical, right? People can actually come to see you. It wasn't just phones.
So we had facilities before
you did?
2007, but we went medical, meaning we started ultrasounds and we got a medical director.
Got it.
A doctor that
step.
oversees. Yeah, it's a really big deal.
Yeah, so it wasn't just like educating or talking to people, but literally bringing another aspect to it.
Yeah, the medical services.
That's really great. That's really great. So that's a great story. I didn't know that. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So I know that you educate people on many different levels, right? So I looked on your website and I found that you also educate on abortion being one of them, parenting and adoption, right? So I wanted to talk to you, if you don't mind, breaking down each one for us.
Yeah.
So under the abortion tag in your website, it says the staff can help you understand the facts and risks associated with each type of abortion procedure.
Yeah.
And so can you break that down for me? Like, how do you even, if I came in and I was trying to get educated and I wanted to be educated on abortion, what does that process look like?
So first of all, anyone who comes in contact and works with clients, they've been trained in crisis pregnancy coaching. So that's number one. We don't put anyone with a staff member or a volunteer that doesn't have any background or any training.
Okay.
As far as the abortion information goes, our standard is that only medical professionals, so anyone who holds a license in the state of Connecticut can give medical abortion information.
Okay.
Like our nursing staff, we have nursing assistants, we have medical assistants, our sonographers who do ultrasounds.
Wow.
They're the ones who are educated to give that information. So, and we also do everything is permission based. So if we have someone come in and they fill out their form and it says they're undecided about their pregnancy or they've checked that they want an abortion or one of the other options, we always ask them, would you like us to give you information on this topic? And if they say yes, then great, and we share with them. And if they don't, we don't push. We don't force any information on anyone.
Okay.
Yeah, so as far as abortion goes, we talk about, sometimes clients will have questions about the morning after pill. Sometimes they'll have questions about the abortion pill and a surgical abortion as well.
Okay.
But we don't use any graphic images. We don't even use graphic speech. We're just there to educate and in love and compassion. And our heart is not to scare women into choosing life. That's not what we want to do.
Right. Wow, that's really great. Because a lot of times you go in or you think of these places as, I'm going to go there already with my mind made up and they're just going to push something on me, right?
Yeah, and it's so sad.
It's a scary thing too because, they're already scared making the decision to begin with. But I think a lot of times being a person who's had abortions, right? And it is an emotional thing. It was emotional for me for many, many years. But I think maybe, and I don't know because I can't reverse the clock, I would have made different decisions had I had education. Right? And I think that education for me is always a powerful tool.
Absolutely.
So it's wonderful that you're offering that tool without forcing the tool, right?
Yeah, and we know that women are really smart.
Yeah.
And so we believe that women can make their own choices and we don't have to coerce them or not give them information. Like they're intelligent, we're intelligent.
Right.
And if they're given the facts, they can make the right choice.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And it's just wonderful to know that it's not scary.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be scary.
No.
I think that's one of the things when I was doing the interview questions and all that with your organization and reading through it, it felt safe. So you guys did a great job on your website. It felt safe. Yeah, I'm sure you did. You can tell that you did. It just felt safe to be there. It felt safe to read. I didn't feel judged. I didn't feel like, I can't have them on my show. This is going to be negative. Nothing like that. But it was really, it was a really eye opener for me that there's a way to do these things in love. Yeah, and I think you're doing a great job at that, just from what I've read alone. And that was very exciting for me to have you here. Thank you. It's very exciting for me. So the other thing that you educate on is parenting. And it says that there's no question that deciding to have and raise a child can be challenging, even for those who plan to become pregnant ahead of time. Man, that is so true. So how do you educate on parenting?
So part of our ministry at Hopeline is we support our moms, our families, their first year of life. So they can come every month and pick up baby food, baby clothes, diapers, car seats, strollers. Like if we have it, we give it. And so that's part of the parenting support that we offer. But we also have nursing staff and medical staff that love to work with our moms and train so we can do baby basics. We have some really young moms who don't know about the soft spot or how to bathe their child. So we offer that type of support, breastfeeding support, even childbirth education. And we also, and I know we'll talk about, but we have extensive referrals that we offer, specifically to parenting centers that can really, that specialize.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's really great.
Yeah.
So is it something that you offer, like the education on the parenting? Is that something that you offer someone who has come in for the education while they were pregnant? Or is this an education tool that you use to anyone who needs it that comes in? Do you understand my question?
So for Hopeline, the priority is our clients.
Right.
So they get first dibs on
course.
anything, resources, classes, education, everything. But something that I love about Hopeline is that we never turn anybody away.
Yeah.
And so even if we might not have it in the schedule to serve that individual, we'll make it a priority to give them referrals and kind of direct them in the right way.
You know, I think that offering something like the parenting education, right, or even the resources alleviates a lot of that scariness,
oh my gosh, yes.
right? Especially if they can come and keep seeing you for the first year. That means, I mean, come on, the first year is so vital to a mom because, I mean, you don't know anything. You don't know. I don't know why God didn't invent it that the baby comes out and the placenta is actually the manual. You know? Wouldn't that be cool?
We can have to ask that question.
Child, this is their manual. Oh man, we would have had this locked, right? But since that's not the case, and we're trying to figure it out, and each kid, and Jessica, as you know, you have 4, or you're going to have 4. Everyone's so different.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
Like, they're so different. Like, how unfair is that for God, right?
Just keep things interesting, right?
It's like, come on, God. He's like, nope, you guys put me through, I'm putting you through. I'm just kidding. So the last one is adoption. I think this is probably the most challenging. And you even said that here, this is the challenging decision-making process, and it is important to remember that help is available to you. I think I've met more people that have been adopted than I ever have in my life. So this last maybe in the last like 2 to 3 years, I've met a lot of adults that were adopted. And they actually had amazing families, which is great, you know. And I think adoption is a scary process, not just for the mom, but the people who are adopting the child as well, right? You don't really know everything when you get the child sometimes, and that's a little scary. So how do you educate on adoption? Because that's a scary one.
Again, everything is permission-based, so we ask our clients if they're interested in information. If they are, just like all 3 of the education that we provide, we're not an abortion provider. We'll give you information. We are not a parenting center
right.
Or a prenatal care provider, but we'll give you all the information you need to parent. And we're not an adoption agency either, but we want to give the information. So we have really great connections with an adoption agency locally, Bethany Christian Services, and they actually just recently did a training for us. But I think the thing about adoption is that to so many people, it's the unknown. Back in the 70s, before abortion was legal, a lot of young women did choose adoption because it was their only
that's
choice.
Why I'm meeting so many adults now.
It is, But abortion now is so available. I mean, there are people who are willing to pay for abortion. There's state funds for abortion. I mean, it's very easy to access. Right. And so I think that that's why adoption is kind of on the back burner, but it doesn't have to be.
Right.
I think it's the educational piece. And so when someone does say yes, we explain to them the different types: closed adoption, semi-open, and open adoption, and then we get them connected to adoption coach through the adoption center agency that we refer to.
And I know that you're not an adoption agency, but is there any way you can touch a little bit on those 3 types of adoption?
Yeah. So a closed adoption is the birth mom chooses to place the child for adoption, and they have no contact with the child or the family that the child has been adopted into. Semi-open is, I think it starts, like, there are certain ground rules and like, you might know the child's name and you might know who the parents are, but you might not know where exactly they live. It's different for each family structure.
A little crack in the door open.
Yeah. And then open is decided with the adoption coach and the birth mom and the adoptive parents what that looks like. So it could be, spending lots of time together. It could be just seeing each other on birthdays, sending cards and pictures and things like that. So,
that's really interesting. And I think even for me, I didn't really know all the differences. So that's a good education piece, right? Because it doesn't have to be so scary. I wish it wasn't so scary, but you hear so many bad stories on the news or, whatever, that you just start to be like, oh my gosh,
we
why?
hear the same about abortion too, really horror stories.
Oh yeah. And because, all of them are going to be tough, right? Even the parenting piece,
absolutely.
right? Even you raising your own child, you're going to make big time mistakes because we all do, right? And it's scary too when this child is looking at you to do all of these things for it, and you're like, oh, am I going to do all of this, right? And so I can see why each one of them brings its own challenges and why education is so important. So Hopeline is really great for even stepping out to do these kind of things. I mean, I bet it must have been some very interesting phone calls when this started in the early 80s, right? Because, and probably a little safer maybe, because it's not like we had caller ID back then, right? So you can literally call, be anonymous, and just get, that's such a powerful tool, isn't it? So powerful. Is all of this, now that I said that, is all of this basically anonymous when they come in to see you guys, or I'm sure that it's all kept under secret and things like that. Like you don't share medical information or anything like that. People can feel safe is what I'm trying to say, right?
Everything is held confidential unless you're releasing information. You give permission to release the information as the client when you're referring or whatever. But everything is confidential, so you really do feel safe and able to open up.
Yeah, we have a privacy policy, and we're very strict with our policy. Our job is to care for women, and one of the ways that we do that is by protecting them.
Right.
Of course, unless they're in danger themselves or of harming someone else or harming themselves or someone is harming them, that's different.
Yeah, of course.
But
there's other precautions, right?
Very important.
I wanted to, you said earlier that you've been around for 33 years, about 33 years.
Yes.
So, Jessica, I wanted to hear a little bit more about you. Why are you part of this? I mean, I know that you have done a lot of different roles there. It says here you were a client, you were a volunteer, and you were an employee. So obviously you kept growing up in there, and then you just said, I'm going to be a board member and handle my stuff in this place, right? So I wanted to kind of hear your journey, and because maybe your journey can touch someone else's journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to share my experience. So I first heard about pregnancy back when I was probably somewhere between 9 and 10 years old. My mom was very involved with our local church, and she started volunteering on her day off at Hopeline. I don't really know what she did there. I was in school and she would go there, but she always would go there every Wednesday. She would go to Hopeline. And back then, I believe they actually still did the phone calls, and I think they rotated which volunteer would answer. So I vaguely remember having phone calls come to my mom. But it was always kind of in the back of my head that I knew this place existed. Fast forward a few years, I found myself in my early 20s, and I was living a lifestyle that I wouldn't say I was very proud of right now. I was struggling with substance abuse and alcohol issues, and was very heavily dependent on substances to the point where it was really scary to look back. Even now, it's scary to think back of where I was in my life. And I found myself pregnant. So I was kind of living house to house with friends and my boyfriend, and just kind of living this unstable lifestyle. And I was scared when I found out that I was pregnant. And I didn't have a good relationship with my parents at the time because of the circumstances. But I did reach out to my mom because I had reached out to a abortion center, and I didn't have the money to even get in the door, basically. So I wasn't sure what to do. So I reached out to my mom, and she said, well, why don't you go to Hopeline? That's all she said. She didn't push it. She just said, I'll give you the number, and you call there. So I called, which is still surprising to me, but this was part of God's plan. Looking back, I can see it was all orchestrated by him. And when I called, they told me, can you come in tomorrow morning? It was like, no waiting, you know, like, we'll get you in tomorrow morning. And even the secretary that answered the phone was like so calming, and I felt like I was like a tornado, you know, the inside, everything is like
going fast.
Yeah, you don't know, you know, you don't even know what direction you're going in. So I would just remember feeling calm and not scared to go to the appointment, which was surprising, I think, and also nice.
Yeah.
So I went to Hopline, and I didn't know how far along I was in my pregnancy. And in order for them to give me, I think, any information that I wanted, they asked me if I would take or I would have an ultrasound, and they had the sonographer there in the office that day. And they could give me some more information, how far along I was, that would open what my options were, etc. So I agreed to have the ultrasound. Again, I wasn't scared, you know, they just make it very calm, and they explain to you what's going to happen. And
can I ask you if you already had in your mind what you wanted before you go there, or?
I did, and I was honest with them. I had told them I wanted to have an abortion. I didn't think that there was any way that I could be a mom at that time.
Right.
So, and they, you know, they didn't judge me when I said that. They just said, okay, like, these are the next steps that we can do for you.
Right.
So I had the ultrasound, and it was a very intense experience for me.
Sure.
I found out I was 7.5 weeks pregnant at the time, and I had no idea that you would actually see like life and a heartbeat and an image of what is going to be a child, you know, and it was a life on that screen.
It's impactful.
It was very impactful, and still, though, I wasn't quite sure. You know, I was like, okay, you know, I know I'm 7.5 weeks pregnant. What's next? So after the ultrasound, they didn't just, you know, shove me out the door. We went back to a counseling room, which I just remember was very calm. I think they had like a noise machine going, and they had pillows. Like, I just felt like so comfortable, you know?
Almost.
Yeah, I was like,
awesome.
Oh, this is like nice. You know, you feel like relaxed. It wasn't scary or clinical, like, you know, it was very relaxed. And they asked me if I wanted prayer. And I just remember feeling like, that's the only thing I can have right now. I don't know what else to do. And I had walked away from the Lord, but I knew in that moment prayer was what I needed.
Yeah.
And I agreed that we could pray, and we prayed. And
can I ask you if you were already at a place where you were you strong in your faith, or was this just like, oh well, that's what I had, it's the last resort? Is like, was that more like it? Okay.
Yes, that was exactly like I felt like that there was no other option. So let's try this. Let's give it a try.
That's right. We all get there.
And I just felt like something, now I know was the Holy Spirit, but there was something pulling me and just saying to me, Jessica, you need to change your life. This is an opportunity to change your life. Listen to me, follow me. And now looking back, I know clearly the Holy Spirit was giving me a message.
Right.
And I just remember leaving the office feeling like, okay, I knew my options, and for some reason and again, now I know it's God, but at the time I said, you know what, I can't have this abortion. Even though I was scheduled, I think it was 2 days later, I was going to go to the abortion clinic. And as soon as I got in my car, I didn't call my mom or my friend or the father of the baby. I called the abortion clinic and I canceled the appointment.
Right.
And
so education played a big role as well.
It did.
Yeah.
And I think Hopeline is so faith-based and has so much of God in it that without them even pushing that on me, the Holy Spirit found me.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and He knew that I was in need. So, and the information that was just orchestrated to make me choose that decision, and it was not a popular decision with a lot of people. A lot of people, even my family. I mean, even though my parents were pro-life and are pro-life, they had their doubts because they felt like well, now I'm going to take care of this baby. Like, they're going to take care of the baby, you know? How is she going to take care of the baby? And the father of my son's father was very, had a lot of reservations as well. But I felt like confident. I was like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. And it was great because, you know, in that first moment, you feel like, okay, I made this decision, now I'm good. Right. But then the next days come, and you're like, uh-oh, is this really? Is this really the decision that I want to make? Yeah. And Hopeline was wonderful in that time. I actually was able to go back weekly for counseling session and prayer and support.
And you took that advantage of that.
I did.
Oh,
so I had a great relationship with the women. I was at the Danbury office, and all of the staff was so supportive.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
And one of the wonderful things, and you guys had touched about this with the services, was the classes that were offered. So I remember going to a breastfeeding support class, the baby basics class, and like I had looked into these at the hospital where I was going to be giving birth, and they were expensive. Yeah. And I didn't have money I didn't have any money extra to do this kind of thing. So the wonderful thing was all these services were free of charge for me. Yeah. And I could take advantage of anything that I needed.
And that's the point right there, though. You took advantage of it, right? People have to remember that these services are offered. Take advantage of it.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's like the most important thing. Other thing you said in your story that I loved is that you weren't in a clinic. That's huge, right? Because that's, I think, the scarier part is to go somewhere and not know what you're walking into. Yes. But you're making it sound like I just feel like going there today and just kind of kicking my feet up with some pillows. And
it's so nice.
Some lavender or something, you know?
Oh my gosh, I do have lavender going in the office. My diffuser.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
It's really welcoming.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And Jessica, I'm really proud of you for stepping out and doing something that is scary.
Yes.
Good for you.
Thank you.
And when I come back, I want to talk to you about statistics and like if you're pregnant and in school, what do you do? Like that kind of stuff. Also, like other services that Jessica was mentioning that you offer. Yeah. Okay. So don't you miss it. Come right back. We are here with Hopeline having a great conversation. Come right back.
Hopeline Pregnancy Resource Center has become the leading voice in pro-life medical services across Connecticut. We bring life-affirming education, counseling, and medical services for those facing unplanned pregnancies. Our medical staff uses ultrasound technology and fact-based counseling to educate clients thoroughly about in utero development and what happens in every stage of pregnancy. Our centers in Bridgeport, Danbury, and Stamford are 100% donor-supported and receive no government funding. Our pregnancy-related services are offered in 3 stages. Prevention. Our Healthy Relationships program goes into local schools and facilitates interactive forums, which teach young people about healthy sexuality with the goal of preventing unplanned pregnancies in Connecticut. Intervention. Our medically trained staff offers pregnancy tests, ultrasounds, and options counseling at no cost to clients. Our caring counselors come alongside those in crisis and encourage life. We stay connected with new parents, offering personal support and material resources while they adjust to life with a baby. Recovery. Finally, we offer loving support groups, Bible studies, and counseling for post-abortive women and men, helping them find freedom and total forgiveness in Christ. Your financial partnership allows Hopeline to provide hope where it is needed most, whether by prevention, intervention, or in recovery. From all of us at Hopeline, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your ongoing sacrificial support.
Hello, this is Neena Perez, and welcome back. We have been sitting here with Adrian and Jessica talking about Hopeline and this amazing organization that helps educate women and men on different options when it comes to pregnancies. And so we just finished listening to an amazing testimony from Jessica, and if you haven't seen that, rewind because you need to go and listen to that. That was really powerful. And right now I wanted to talk a little bit about statistics. And you've been around, you said
about
33 years. And so I wanted to know more about, I'm sure you guys have kept records about what you've done and what you've educated people on, maybe how many pregnancy tests you've taken, so on and so forth. So I was hoping you can share that a little bit with us.
Sure. So between our 3 centers, last year we had over 3,100 appointments, which is, really incredible.
Busy people.
Yes, we are busy. And within that, we did over 700 pregnancy tests.
Wow.
And of the pregnancy tests that were positive, 99.1 of them chose life.
Wow.
Yes, incredible.
Wow, that's
It was really
amazing.
incredible. It is amazing. It's just all Jesus.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So when they come in for their pregnancy test, I remember in the first segment you were saying that you give it, you don't, what did you say? Permission-based. You said it was permission-based. Is that also for the pregnancy test?
Yeah, so when they come in, they have a couple pieces of paper to fill out, but one of them is called our limitation of services and explains what we do and what we don't do. And it says when they're signing that they give us permission to do the urine test. So when they sign that, they're saying, yes, I'm allowing you to do my pregnancy test.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then from there starts, I guess, the education, if they want
Yeah, so when they get a positive test, it depends if the test is positive or negative. It goes a couple different ways. But if it's positive, that's when our pregnancy coaches ask if they want information on abortion, adoption, and parenting. If it's negative, our pregnancy coaches will ask if they would like information on abstinence.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Perfect. And so I know one of the most scariest times in my life was being pregnant and in school. Yeah. I was very young when I got pregnant. I was in middle school. I was in 8th grade. But I honestly, oh my God, I sit back and I think, I'm like, wow, why was I not educated about this stuff? But I really wasn't, and especially back in 1988, 87, it was really not an educational piece, right? I remember being very scared. Yeah. And so I wanted to really know about being pregnant in school, right? I think you had mentioned something about that you educate at some schools and stuff like that. So I wanted to know about what that education process is and what a young lady or a young man who has a young lady pregnant, what do we do? What do we do?
So at Hopeline, there are really 3 branches to our ministry: prevention, intervention, and recovery.
Okay.
And so the prevention portion is when we go into the public schools, we go into private schools, and we go into youth groups, and we teach about sexual risk avoidance and abstinence education. So annually, we do about 150 presentations between the schools and the youth groups. Yeah. And so, that's when we talk about abstinence and what that looks like, and we share about our services. And actually last year in one of the schools I did share about our services, and one of the girls was pregnant, and she reached out to Hopeline through social media and scheduled an appointment and chose life. And so it was really divine that we had an opportunity to be in that school. We also have great relationships with the schools. I get regular phone calls from school nurses and guidance counselors that have students in their care that are pregnant and don't know where to go, and they refer to us.
Wow. So the schools that you go through is that all of Connecticut, or is that only in the areas where you are located?
So it's generally focused in the areas that we're located because we're in Fairfield County, but there are other pregnancy centers in Connecticut.
Right.
And I'm not sure if they do relationship education, but we focus on Fairfield County.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when someone reaches out, that must have been an amazing feeling for you,
so
right?
great.
Thank goodness we were there.
Yeah.
Do you leave that kind of information also for the student body, the counselors and stuff like that are there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The health teachers, they have all of our cards and our brochures. When I go into the schools, on the whiteboard, I write our social media, our text number, and our text number is 24 hours and things like that. And I always leave room at the end of the class, and I hang around if there's anyone who wants to talk to me privately or anyone has questions that they don't want to ask in front of the class.
Yeah. That's a scary thing.
Yeah.
It's
Very scary.
Yeah, it's scary to ask, and it's because you think if you ask, people are going to think that you are, or they're going to make a judgment call on you and stuff. I remember at least feeling like that in school. It's a very scary thing. So you said you teach 3 things. What is it again?
So our
Prevention?
ministry is prevention, which is the healthy relationship education in the school. Then the second piece is intervention, which is our medical services, the educational classes that Jess was talking about, and the support after birth, and then our reconciliation or recovery, which is the post-abortion support that we provide.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the second one with the medical. Can you explain a little bit about the medical piece?
Yep. So we have licensed medical professionals that handle the medical parts and pieces. So nursing assistants, medical assistants, nurses, and we have a doctor who oversees, our medical director who oversees all of our medical practices. And so they do the pregnancy test. Oh, sonographers. Yes, sonographers. They do the pregnancy test, and then the sonographer, we have registered diagnostic medical sonographers, and they do the ultrasounds for our clients. So they're trained and skilled, and our medical director is amazing, and he requires very high standards, and he's really great. And so, so that's kind of the medical portion of that.
Oh, okay.
Everything is free. Nobody needs to worry about insurance or paying for a visit.
I was just going to ask you about that. Okay, so it's free. The
Everything
services
that we do.
are free.
Everything that we do is free.
Yes.
That's a big weight lifted, right? It's a big weight lifted because a lot of people don't know that those things are free, and a lot of places charge a lot of money.
Yes, especially if you don't have insurance.
Yeah, especially if you don't have insurance. And even when you do, the deductibles are so high.
Yeah,
it's really, it's really insane.
Yes.
So Jessica, you probably found that to be like such a peaceful thing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So being able to go there and find out how far along I was in my pregnancy, and also the medical director was at the office the day that I was there, again, divine intervention, and he was able to explain to me the results of what was on the ultrasound because I had some concerns because of the lifestyle that I was living, and he was able to give me some information right then, which was great. And just having medical trained professionals doing the ultrasound and knowing that this is accurate information. And additionally to that, they were able to refer me then into prenatal care and find somebody that would take my insurance, and also referred me to get help with obtaining insurance because I didn't have insurance at the time. So Hopeline was able to just kind of guide the path and made all the filing, the paperwork easy. They gave me the correct resources. So that was very reassuring. Yeah. It made it easy because it's overwhelming. You're
already scared.
Exactly. Exactly.
And then to try to think of all the little pieces that you don't really think about, right? Yeah, that must have been really scary. So it feels like divine intervention, really, because when you called, they had you there the next day, but the next day was actually the day that the sonographer was there, the medical director. Come on.
Perfect.
That's totally not coincidence.
All in his timing. Yes.
And because we're a 501c3, which is a nonprofit ministry, everything is free.
Right.
So all of
that's
those
beautiful.
services we offer at no cost.
I wanted to talk a little bit about, Jessica had talked about getting some counseling sessions. I want to talk to you about what that means, what that looks like when you're getting counseling.
Yeah, so at Hopeline, we're not professional counselors. We are trained in crisis pregnancy coaching. Or peer counseling, pregnancy coaching. And honestly, it can look like whatever the client needs. Like Jess said, sometimes, like she needed peer support. And so that's what we can provide. Or if they want the information about adoption, abortion, or parenting, that's what we can provide. If they're concerned about their relationship with their significant other, we also talk about healthy relationships and looking for a way, like, do you need a way out? Are you safe? Are you comfortable? All of those things. So it really depends on the client. It's hard to put it in a box because everyone's story is so different. So different.
Yeah, and as you were talking, it just reminded me of when I was pregnant also, I was in a severely domestic violent relationship, right? So it would have been, for me anyway, I know about a few young ladies within the last like 4 or 5 years that were also in a very severe domestic violence relationship. But I could only point them to one way that I knew, which was the domestic violence shelter. Right, for them to get that help. So it's nice that Hopeline also tries to talk to you about those things, even though you're not counselors. So I totally get that. Coaches, I totally get that. But that doesn't mean that you're not educated enough to help. Right?
Or get them in the right hand.
Exactly.
The right hand.
Direct them.
Yeah, direct. And that's sometimes that's all we need, is to get a little bit of direction to kind of understand where we're going. Right?
And we're that spiritual support too, because there are a lot of agencies that aren't religiously affiliated or faith-based, and it's important to a lot of people, and so that's something that I love about Hopeline, that we can provide for them, is that
spiritual aspect. You're right. Now, what if somebody isn't a person of faith? What about that? Can we go to you or
absolutely. We don't turn anyone away. It doesn't matter what you look like, where you're from, your citizenship status, your religious affiliation, your sexual orientation. We serve everyone. In our intake form, we do ask religion, how they identify religiously. And so within the coaching session, I always say, just so you know, the reason we ask that question is because we are a faith-based organization, and we love to provide that spiritual support. So if you would like prayer, I can offer that to you. But if you don't, that's okay. You don't have to take it.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I say that's good because I know that there's people out there who are afraid, right? Yes. And even though you're doing these amazing things that you're doing and offering all this coaching and stuff, the last thing they want to hear is you Bible beating them if that's not where they are, right?
Yeah, no, and we don't do that anyway, even if they are Christians.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah. But it's also good for people who don't have that connection, in their lives, that they can at least still feel supported, right? Because this is scary, whether you're Christian or not, right? So it's a very scary topic, period, right?
And our faith is so important because that's how we can offer the compassionate care, because we know Jesus and we know his love. And so that allows us to love on the women and families that come to Hopeline really well.
Yeah.
And if we're loving like him, we're not discriminating against anybody.
Right, absolutely.
Right. So that's very important to share, and for women to know and men to know, you're never going to be turned away. You're going to be welcomed as anybody is as welcome as anybody else. There's no judgment or discrimination of any kind. I mean, that's what makes Hopeline so special, I think. And it's just welcoming for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's like you said, too. I mean, it's not something that you were sure about yourself. No. You were struggling with it yourself, right? So for you to stay around as long as you have is a testimony to that, right? Because you wouldn't have felt safe and you would have felt judged, so.
And I think that if I had gone there and they had said to me, you should choose life, I probably, in the position I was at, would have got up and walked away.
Right.
Because it was something that every woman needs to decide, and every family needs to decide. It should not be pushed on anybody.
Yeah, and it's not even in our language to say you need to choose life or you should choose life. That's never how
your
we
statistics kind of show that, or you'd have like 2 people.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I know.
It'd be like we have one branch in a basement.
Yeah, and honestly,
one client.
We're really blessed because we have amazing clients that write us beautiful Google reviews. So
and testimonies when they feel led.
Oh my gosh, they write us. We just
and you have a really good statistic there, 99.1%.
Yeah, choose life. Yeah.
So good.
And I think a lot has to do with the education, which we've talked about so much, and also just the support that you feel when you're in Hopeline's hands. Sure. They're not just having you make a decision and pushing you out the door. They're there. Them. Yeah, they're there for you through not only the pregnancy but life. The rest of your life, you can turn to them for any reason, really. I mean, they're like family. That's always what I say. Hopeline is a family. Once you become a client of Hopeline, you're in it for life.
Yeah. And, your experience was like 8 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. So about 8 years ago, and you're still there for life, it seems.
Yes, I think
so. But up until your 4th child that you're having now, and you're still involved, right? That says a lot.
Yeah.
And that says you feel safe. That says that you are grateful.
Yes.
That you are thankful that they were there for you when they were there for you. And you want to pour back into someone else's life, and that's huge.
I want any woman or family, couple that is going through an unplanned pregnancy or a scary time when they find that they're pregnant, I want every woman to know that they can come to Hopeline and get the help that they want or the support that they want, or just help knowing that they're not alone in it, you know, and Hopeline is just a wonderful organization for that.
Yeah, and honestly, that's really the mission, but we also serve couples who are really excited to be pregnant and maybe don't have insurance or are concerned about a medical condition that they might have.
Yes.
Yeah, so again, we don't turn anybody away regardless of your circumstance. It doesn't matter if you're happy or sad or, or scared, confused, angry. We really just are here to serve well, just
good.
like Jesus would.
Well, that's good. I mean, because that's I didn't know that either. So that's a good little tidbit, right? That you can just come because you need to know more or have more services, right? Like your parenting that we talked about, right? So the exploring your options. So the parenting is one of them, right? So
big one.
Yeah, it is.
It's a big one.
That's for life.
Yeah, that is for life.
For life.
For life.
And also I saw really something great on there, which was part of the counseling, correct me if I'm wrong, but healing a father's heart.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah.
So, because there was like a post-abortion recovery, right, for men and women, which I thought was really great. I personally have never really met a man who has struggled with it, has gotten help for it. I've met men that are angry about it.
Yeah.
I've met that, and I've met men who are like, they feel guilt or shame that they helped that person make that decision back then. But I've never really experienced a man telling me that he got help for it or got a little counseling or got educated on it, right? So I wish more men would.
Absolutely.
So I was reading that and I thought that was really powerful and something that I think viewers should know, that it's not just women that struggle.
Absolutely.
So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah.
So just like for anybody, after somebody experiences an abortion, you might need some support after. You will need some support after. And I think it's something that in our society is not talked about a lot. And I think that that's a shame, because I think anybody who needs some help after that or some support, encouragement, they should be able to get that, and they should be open, and they shouldn't feel like anybody is judging them or being harsh with them. They should feel the same love that we offer to everybody and all of our clients. And I think it's even more so with men, because I think men feel like it wasn't something that happened to them. They were kind of just along for the ride or whatever. But we know that it does affect men. And I think it's so important for men to hear this, that we offer this Bible study and support for healing them, because they need it just as much as any woman would. And I think that that it's just good to get the message out there that it's not taboo or strange. It's something that's a necessary tool that you can have and you can access through Hopeline. So we want all the men and fathers to know that that is something they can come to Hopeline for.
Yeah, I wish that men knew more about this kind of stuff. Like I was talking to a woman who is a professional counselor, and she does a lot of domestic violence and helping people get through that. And she was talking about how she has some men, and I'm like, that is so rare. You don't really hear about men who go and get counseling or educated on the fact that they are being abused, whether it's mentally, physically, or whatever, right? So it's really wonderful that Hopeline is doing that, because that's going beyond what you're normally thinking that's supposed to happen, and knowing that there's something out there that can help. So the post-abortion, as you were explaining, was just basically just helping men and women kind of get through this, right? And what that means.
So Linda Cochran is our CEO, and she is amazing. And she really helped to pioneer the post-abortion recovery movement in this country. And she has an amazing testimony herself, but she wrote Healing a Father's Heart for men who have experienced abortion, Forgiven and Set Free for women who need to be forgiven and set free from the choices that they've made with abortion in their past. And she also wrote The Path to Sexual Healing, and that's to help victims of sexual abuse, but also people who've lived a promiscuous lifestyle that are like, I need to change. I was violated during that time. I violated myself. And so she's amazing.
That's a powerful topic.
Yes, she's amazing, and she's like the guru, and we're so blessed that she's at Hopeline and that she serves, and that she's just anointed for this.
So are those Bible studies like just accessible through Hopeline? Like you would go to Hopeline
So
to
you
do
can
these?
order them online.
Oh, you can?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it is encouraged because they're so heavy
Yes.
to do it with a trained coach.
Yeah.
So I'm trained in post-abortion recovery. So we have a couple of staff members and volunteers within each center that are trained to be able to walk clients through those Bible studies.
And now you do offer quite a bit of services that we explained before, and I just wanted to go over them a little bit because we're just talking now about the healthy relationship, or at least, you know, getting set free from a lot of these things.
Yeah, the abortion recovery.
So, so far you've covered, you have pregnancy testing, you have ultrasound, counseling, abortion recovery, and then healthy relationship education.
So that's when we go into the schools. That's the prevention.
Okay.
Yeah, the
So
sexual
that's-
risk
okay.
avoidance.
Got
Yep.
it. So that's when you go into the schools and you discuss these things with these young people.
Yeah.
Now, is there an age where you guys say we can't really get, you know, this young, or like, is there an age?
So typically when we go into the schools, it's the high school. We'll do middle schools, but the high schools in the Connecticut state curriculum, that's when they do pregnancy and sexuality.
Okay.
And so usually the schools ask us to come in during that portion of the curriculum to be kind of a support to the teachers. So typically it's high schools, but we've done youth groups that have middle schools. We've done middle schools.
Actually, it should start in middle school.
Yeah.
To be honest,
I
you
agree.
know, I was so young. I was 13.
Yeah.
You know, I was like in 7th grade. I mean, that's a baby. You know, but you don't know any better, and if you're not educated at home, and you really aren't educated, you don't know.
No, yeah,
you know,
it's true.
Absolutely.
you really don't. So, how old can they be to come to your clinic? Oh, it doesn't matter.
Nope.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah, all you need to bring with you is a photo ID, just so we know you are who you say you are. We are mandated reporters, so you could be. I think we have the document in the center. I can't remember the age of consent, but if we have to report, we sit down with the client and we say, listen, we love you and we care about you, and this is why we need to report.
Okay.
And so sometimes the schools have already reported,
Right.
and it's not, you know, we have to call it in, but it's already in process. I personally haven't had a case where it's been there's been prosecution, but you know, we are mandated reporters, but you could be 13. I think my youngest client was 14.
I was going to ask if you had young
Yeah,
clients.
I think my youngest was 14. Our oldest is definitely in her later 40s.
So the youngest being around 13, 14, did they find that education because of what you did at the school? Or was this, you know, because I wonder how the youth get a hold of such an amazing, you know, educational tool that Hopeline is.
I think that that just getting our name out there, which can be in various ways. This being one of them.
Yeah.
Talking in different churches, talking at youth groups, getting into the schools.
Yeah.
I just think the
that's
more the more we get into the community, the more awareness there is, and also I think the young community is on the social media sites a lot. So it's important for us to make sure that we can be found on Facebook and online with a quick Google search. People can find us very easily, and we're easily to access. We have ways that you can email us, you can message us through text. It's easy for anybody to get in touch with us.
And we ask each client when they come in their intake form, how they heard about us. And the biggest way people hear about us is referral from a friend.
Yeah.
And so it could be someone who's been to the center. It could be someone who heard a presentation in the church and was telling their friends, and they know, and it just, I don't know, it spreads like wildfire.
It does, which is good.
Yeah, it's
which
great.
Is good, right? Because it's a necessary.
Service.
Yeah, it's a necessary service, you know, and it's something that we need. It really is, and you know, you guys are on the ground doing the work.
We are.
It's so amazing.
Thank you.
Really, really is.
It
I'm
is
happy that you
amazing.
guys were were a part of my show, because that's what we're about at Straight Talk. It's just about bringing resources and tools to people, but discussing life topics, you know, which is something that, you know, it sometimes can be a little taboo for people to talk about, but you have to. You have to. It's all about education and exposure, right? Yes. And so some of the things I'm going to talk about before we close out is that we touched a little bit about it before, was the additional referral services. And so I'm just going to spew out a few, okay? So we have prenatal care, parenting support, adoption, mental health services, which is so big, housing, immigration help, health insurance, food services, energy assistance, clothing, domestic violence, and career I mean, wow, okay. Yeah. That's a lot of work. You guys are busy.
Yeah, we are. We have amazing client services advocates that research and find the referrals and vet the referrals out so that we can give them to our clients.
Amazing. It's just amazing because it makes you realize that you're not just a pregnancy center. You know what I'm saying? You're not just, here's your 3 options, pick.
Right.
You know? No, it's so much more than that. Absolutely. And I'm really proud of Hopeline. Really proud. So I can't wait to have this featured and for people to watch and to also feel safe. You know, just like, okay, I'm going to be able to call this place. I'm going to be able to email. I'm going to be able to go on their website and find these amazing educational pieces. So DBA, Hopeline Pregnancy Resource Center. The number is 1-800-203-HOPE. And you can email Adrienne, right? Adrienne at hopelineprc.org. And you can go on their website, which I did, and it's some amazing information on there. You can find everything on there that you need. And that is hopelineprc.org. So I really encourage you, if you are struggling with something or going through a pregnancy or any kind of questions on parenting or anything that you would need, reach out and they can at least refer you to a service or at least speak with you and see how they can help. So thank you so much for watching. This is Neena Perez at Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. Until next time.